He sat quietly in seat 12F, window down, hood up, trying not to be noticed. To the passengers around him, he looked like any other exhausted single travel mug, half empty, laptop open, a worn photo of his little girl taped beside the keyboard. But when the captain's voice suddenly cracked through the intercom, "Ladies and gentlemen, we have a special passenger aboard today," everything changed, because in a few moments, the man in seat 12F would remind an entire nation what true honor, sacrifice, and love for family really look like. When Ethan Cole boarded that early morning flight to Washington, D.C., he wasn't thinking about the past. He was thinking about custody hearings, his daughter's school fees, and the quiet ache of trying to be both mother and father at once. He'd promised her, "Daddy's gonna make it right this time," but deep down, he wasn't sure how. Life had been a battle ever since he'd hung up his uniform, both literally and emotionally. The seat next to him was empty, giving him space to breathe, to think. As the plane taxied down the runway, he pulled out a small notebook. Inside were sketches of airplanes, tanks, and stars drawn in crayon, his daughter Lily's way of saying "Daddy's my hero." His throat tightened. He used to be someone who inspired people. Now, he was a man just trying to survive court dates and overdue bills. Somewhere over Kansas, turbulence hit. The seatbelt sign blinked on, and passengers braced themselves. A young boy in the aisle ahead began to cry, clutching his stuffed animal. Ethan reached forward gently. "It's okay, buddy, you're safe. We'll be through it in no time." His calm, steady tone made the boy quiet instantly. The mother smiled gratefully. "You sound like you've done this before," she said. Ethan just nodded, eyes on the window. What she didn't know was that he'd once talked people through much worse than turbulence. 2 hours later, the flight attendant approached Ethan's row. "Sir, are you a broken bar, Captain Cole?" she asked carefully. His eyes flicked up. "Puzzled." "Used to be," he said quietly. She swallowed. "The pilots just got word. They said to tell you broken bar a Havoc 1. It's an honor, sir." Ethan froze. That name a Havoc O'Neill was one he hadn't heard in nearly a decade. It was his call sign from the Air Force. He'd been one of the youngest fighter squadron leaders in U.S. history, flying F-22 Raptors on missions most people would never hear about, the missions that weren't supposed to exist. He felt every head in the nearby rows turned toward him. "I think they'd like to meet you after landing," the attendant added softly. Ethan gave a small nod, heart pounding. He hadn't expected anyone to remember him, not after the crash, not after what it cost him. When the plane landed at Andrews Air Force Base, Ethan gathered his things and stepped into the sunlight. 2 F-22 Raptors were parked on the tarmac nearby, gleaming silver beneath the sky. The pilots standing beside them snapped to attention the moment they saw him. "Sir," one said sharply, voice trembling with respect, "we were told you were on board. It's a broken bar. It's an honor to meet Havoc 1. Ethan's voice was quiet but firm. "At ease, boys, I'm just Ethan now." The younger pilot hesitated, then said, "With all due respect, sir, what you did saved 6 of us. You may have left the uniform, but we haven't forgotten." Ethan's throat tightened. Memories flooded back at the desert night sky, the radio silence, that decision to take the hit that brought his jet down but saved his entire wing. He'd spent 2 years in recovery after that. Lost his career, lost his wife, who couldn't bear the long hospital nights and broken dreams. But he hadn't lost Lily. She was his reason to keep fighting. Later that day, Ethan stood beside the runway with his daughter's photo still tucked in his pocket. One of the pilots offered to show him the inside of the cockpit, but he declined. "That chapter's done," he said softly. "I'm building a new one now." The pilot nodded. "Then let us help you turn the page, sir." And with that, both jets roared into the sky in perfect formation, a tribute flight, just for him. The crowd that had gathered outside the terminal watched as the F-22s cut across the clouds, their wings flashing in salute. People who didn't even know him stood silently, phones lowered, tears in their eyes. Ethan stood perfectly still, watching them disappear into the distance. For the first time in years, his shoulders felt lighter. He realized that being a hero wasn't about flying the fastest or fighting the hardest. It was about showing up, every day, for the people who needed you most. That night, Ethan called Lily from his hotel room. "Guess what, sweetheart," he said, smiling. "Daddy made some new friends today." Her voice, small and bright through the phone, replied, "Did you save the day again, Daddy?" He laughed softly, eyes misting. "No, sweetheart, not this time, but I remembered how." And as the camera slowly pans out from the hotel window past the skyline, past the clouds, to F-22s still tracing white lines across the sunset, the narrator's voice closes the story. Sometimes, the bravest battles aren't fought in the sky. They're fought in silence, in love, and in the promise that no matter how far we fall, we can always rise again. Moral: you never stop being who you are because life changes your uniform. Heroes aren't made in war, so they're made in the quiet moments when no one's watching. And sometimes, the man in seat 12F is more than just another passenger. He's a reminder that strength doesn't fade. It just finds a new mission.